4 till 9.
Okay, good. Eric and Doug, take 1 or 2. Hey, Doug.
Hey, good to see you again, Eric.
Good to see you. I'm Eric. This is Doug. It's that time of year where what we're talking about amongst each other and our friends are the Oscars, and us being both lovers of the cinema. It's kind of fun to get together with you to talk about what you think of this year's crop of films that have been nominated and are up for Oscars. And I think we may not get to the point where we have a bet on who has the best picks for the Oscars, because we really don't care that much.
That's true.
But we could put a few bucks on it.
Alrighty. I will bet you $20 on probably I want to pronounce it right. It's Anora, which is basically Pretty Woman, grittier, more real, and a lot less pleasant. So it has some momentum. These films come into the Oscar ceremony having the momentum of the BAFTAs, the Screen Actors Guild, and that seems to be the momentum. I do think that the best film this year that's nominated is Wicked, but Wicked is just like The Wizard of Oz, which was nominated in 1939, didn't win anything. It is timeless, so it'll be one of those things that's shown on television once a year for 50 years. So it doesn't need Oscar love. The movie I enjoyed the most this year was Conclave, and that would be where, if I was to put down emotional money, that would be the movie that I would.
So what I'm hearing is you want to bet me on Best Picture. You're saying Anora, but you're also saying potentially
that Conclave was the movie I enjoyed the most this year,
yeah,
and so you try and root for your favorites. I didn't particularly enjoy Nora. There's no new ground being broken except in nudity and in grit. I mean, that's all it is. I mean, it's telling a great story. It's this particular director also has a lot of momentum, and working sex workers are pretty much his wheelhouse. Almost all his movies have sex workers or feature sex workers. And so, there's a lot of disadvantaged groups that are represented. But Nora is much more of a traditional movie, just with, it's like, Reservoir Dogs meets Pretty Woman. And with Russian oligarchs thrown in.
I'll admit I like the rawness of Anora, and I think right now it's favored to win as of this taping. And I think that it is a real insight into sex workers and Russian oligarchs.
but
also it's kind of a story of love, in my opinion, of what we define as love. So here's a person who sees her value as to what she offers at a strip club, and she comes very expensive, and so when someone comes in with the money, she doesn't realize really what she's getting into. Not to give away any of the ending, he pays her money. They're having sex. Suddenly, feelings are involved, and from both sides. And are these feelings love? Are these feelings sex? There's a sense in my heart that she really kind of fell in love with him while being a sex worker, and was introduced to him being a sex worker. And without giving away the ending, this is a love story in a way.
Well, it's a love story in the same way that Pretty Woman's a love story, which is a movie that I kind of detest because it glamorizes the sex worker, the sex worker situation. But this is basically a movie where, without giving away the ending, where she falls in love with Hector Elizondo from Pretty Woman, the guy that facilitates everything, the guy that falls in love with her. So, like I said, we're not breaking ground here. So you kind of wonder why it is, the front runner, and I think it's the front runner because it's a traditional movie with having traditional values about an untraditional profession, and so it's in a way, even though the movie's very raw, in a way it's the safe choice because you've got
for the winning film,
because you can be avant-garde, and yet you have a movie that's already been made before, just a lot glossier in Pretty Woman.
Well, and I think we should say, full disclosure, there might be some I do want to talk about the ending, because at the end, there's a moment, without giving away the whole situation, where she does kind of get upset. She breaks down and cries. What's going on in her head at that moment? Do you have a feeling about what she's thinking about at that moment?
Yeah, that it's very difficult for sex workers to express their love sexually. So, unfortunately or fortunately, in my job, that's I've had more contact with people in the sex worker trade because of witnesses.
And for people that don't know, you're an attorney.
Yeah, well,
so
a criminal law attorney,
Criminal law.
and so it's, at least I like the fact that it's not glamorized. The movie I enjoyed the most was Conclave, and I think that's, if you love movies, it's impossible not to enjoy.
Yeah.
This is an actor's showcase. It's a mystery. It's kind of like, I'm only going to put together two things one more time. It's kind of like The Usual Suspects meets, the Vatican.
Okay.
So it is a mystery, but it focuses a lot with great cinematography on the ritual, on the different pageantry, if that's the right word, that goes with choosing a new pope. But that's only the framework that allows it to be a beautiful mystery or beautifully shot mystery.
Mm-hmm.
And Isabella Rossellini is great in it. Ralph Fiennes is great in it. There's Stanley Tucci, who
I love Stanley.
I love the Tucci.
Lithgow.
Yeah, Lithgow. So you already know who the villains are.
Yeah.
But I think it's a satisfying movie in a way that why people go see movies, and not necessarily to be changed, because it doesn't really have much to say, but it does. There's enough twists and turns to keep you going. So it's a good mystery. You go farther down the list, and there's Nickel Boys, about a reform school in Florida that were basically killed young black men. It's more of a horror story, but does have a social trapping, as does The Substance. And so it's a horror movie. People don't know that, I think, when they go in.
I think that might win for adapted screenplay. Full transparency, as former film festival founder and director, we played a documentary about this situation back in 2018, and we actually had a lot of other people who witnessed that come out. And I think that the way that I watched the film, it was done in such an original way. I don't see how it's going to win Best Picture.
Oh no, these are people.
But wonderfully done, and I really love a film that doesn't have a lot of dialogue to tell the story, and this one really does. And you have to pay attention, and I like that. They're not just like hitting you over the head with it. Like, you have to kind of figure out, but you see through their feelings.
Yeah.
And then A Complete Unknown is probably a possibility too. The Timothy Chalamet, Bob Dylan story. That's going to be up there. But if we're betting, how much were we betting on this?
We're betting $2,000.
What?
We'll bet 20.
20 is okay. I'll go 20. I'll go 20 on. I was actually going Conclave. I think that right now it's not a favorite, but as far as like cinematography, acting, story, it was probably the one film that kept me most interested, and that's a lot for me, because a lot of times I'll be like, oh gosh, and I think that, and it's also slow moving for some though. I think it might be really slow, and it's so focused on the papacy, and and I think that, but I think it was great. So I'll bet you 5 that it's going to be
20.
20.
All right.
It's going to be Conclave.
I would love to see Conclave win, because that was my, besides Wicked, that was my favorite movie of the year.
It was.
A couple others that maybe should be mentioned. I did briefly mention the Substance, which is a horror movie, but
that's not Best Picture though.
Yeah,
no,
it's nominated for Best Picture.
Is it? No. Oh, it is. Yeah, sure. Oh,
yeah.
gosh.
So
cannot take Best Picture. Please
well,
don't.
it's
Demi Moore will
not
get
going
Best
to.
I'll bet Demi Moore on the Best Actress for that.
Well, you won't get takers on that because the Oscars is mostly about validation, and so Zoe Saldana for
Supporting actress.
supporting actors for Perez,
yeah.
and
Yes, I would go with that as well.
and Demi Moore because you get to validate now.
Well, she's
Yeah.
also really good, and there's a validation through the years. I think is that what you're saying when we say
Yeah.
validation?
Yeah, this is what you reward. It's
Over
what you
years.
reward somebody
But she
for.
is spectacular in that.
Like Leonardo DiCaprio got his Oscar for a movie called The Revenant when he was actually being rewarded for a body of work. You know, from
I understand.
I agree.
I agree.
the best actor, I think will probably be Timothée Chalamet
Over Brody.
over Brody because Brody's not very well liked and he has been rewarded before. So you know then now we're not
Chalamet
even
as
talking
well.
about their
I'm
movies.
going with
We're talking about their
personality. But
personality.
did you like The Brutalist?
I couldn't sit through The Brutalist. I have I don't have a short attention span,
I don't
but
either.
that requires a lot of the viewer and
To
an
have
emotion.
4 hours.
Yeah, to have an emotional commitment, and
No, thank you.
you know, they have put in an intermission, which they didn't start out with.
That's when I left. I left
Yeah.
at intermission.
well,
I walked out. I said, "Do I want to go back?"
emotionally,
no, I don't.
Emotionally and interest-wise, I left
It was
after
well
the first
done.
15 minutes.
Did you?
Not physically, but you know.
You know, and I've seen Adam, I've seen Adrian Brody in person. You know, and I think he's an interesting fellow, but I don't know that he was great in it. I didn't like him in it.
Well,
I hope he doesn't win Best Actor. I mean, Ralph Fiennes from Conclave could win that one too.
No,
No?
it's
Chalamet's-
more of a pedestrian role for him because Fiennes is an extremely great actor playing great roles, but this is in the movie that he's in, Conclave, that he is the audience, so he is more of a passive role. Things happen around him. He doesn't create things, and so he is the showier roles are are Lithgow, Tucci, and
Well, you
company.
could argue that you could argue that because he's subdued, that's acting too. You know, like
Oh, I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
It's a great performance, but not a great performance that wins Oscars.
yeah, Chalamet's gonna win. Did you like Chalamet in Complete Unknown?
I have to confess, Complete Unknown is the only thing I've seen clips of.
Oh,
I haven't
okay.
seen. I haven't
Well,
seen
he's
the
great.
movie.
He's great in it. You know, for me, it's also hard to watch. I mean, all these biopics. You know, it's hard for me when we know what Bob Dylan, who he is, and I'd almost would rather see Bob Dylan perform because it's hard. You have to kind of. They say you have to kind of be able to say, this seems real to me. And it's hard when you know Timothée Chalamet and you just watch him on Saturday Night Live and he's hilarious and you can take him seriously in the role and he's great in it. But I don't really love biopics ever, so it was hard for me.
Yeah, when you have a big star like that, it's hard to. You're always watching Timothée Chalamet play Bob Dylan. You're always watching when it's a big actor play that, and it's very difficult to lose it.
Really?
You need, there's been a
Suspend
lot of
disbelief,
people.
that's what I was going to say.
A lot of people who have played Bob Dylan, and they're, everybody from Kate Blanchard, to I'm forgetting his name for just a second, but he has two names, Oscar Isaac. There are his two first names.
I got He's got two. Also known, Oscar and
but there's
Isaac.
a lot of people who have done their take on Dylan. This is more than that, but to round out the bunch, you still got a lot of socially aware programs, socially aware movies. Like I'm just making sure I get the title right. I'm Still Here is nominated.
Well, I'm still here. I just want to interrupt you. I think that's also what the theater said. I'm still here because that's like the only one that I couldn't find on streaming, to be honest with you. And I like watching the big screen, but that's the one I haven't got to see. But I'm Still Here is also what the theater said.
Well, Walter Salles has been making movies for a real long time in Hollywood that are all socially aware, and so. But he is not a prominent force. You know, he's not very good on the circuit to sell it. Although the lady that's the star of that is an actress that is a dark horse contender for Best Actress. But I really do think that, you know, if you're talking about validation, you really have to go with Demi Moore.
All right, so we're going Anora, Conclave. We're both for Demi Moore. We're both for Timothée Chalamet. We're both for Zoe Saldana, for Emily Perez. Do we talk about supporting actor?
Well,
yet?
that's far and away going to be Mr. Calkin.
That's the favorite, but I bet you another 20 that it's going to be Edward Norton.
Okay, then so far I'm up to $40.
You think so? Maybe I only bet 5 on the Edward Norton.
Well,
that's the one you didn't see though. He was particularly awesome.
Well, he may have been particularly awesome, but you know, there's a thing like about timing, and there's a train that's running for Calkin,
Yeah, there
and he
is
has one, and
he's cool. I liked his approach.
He's got, you know, he's
so casual,
got a lot
and fun.
of endearing quirks.
Yeah, that's
and which is kind of what his movie is about. Is comprised of his endearing quirks, with Jeffrey Eisenberg,
yeah,
as being his straight man, and you know so like I said, I'm up to $40.
All right, we'll take you on that. You know, I want to talk about it just because I feel like for me, the mark of a good film is a film that I would watch again. And so a lot of times Oscar films really fall short. I have a top 100 films. I have asked you to take the top 100 film challenge. I asked everyone out there to take the top 100 film challenge, which is on the website. And I just want you to. I want to say though, of all the ones that I want to watch again, I feel like the only one I really want to watch again is Dune 2. I feel like Dune 2 was really fun for me. Conclave would be the other one. But I definitely don't want to see Anora again. I don't want to see Amelia Perez again. No offense. I don't want to watch Nickel Boys again. You know, the Substance, I had to fast forward through that. Good thing I watched that at home. It's so gruesomely gory, disgusting. You know, yeah. The picture was great, probably worthy of a nomination, but I would never watch it again. So of you, I know you said you had a favorite was Wicked. Are there any, if we were to take this stand on how we are appraising the films of this year's Oscar contenders, do you have any specific one or two that you would watch again?
Well, if that is a standard, see, I don't believe in watching movies twice. No,
really?
Because of the experience is the first experience. Now,
okay.
If you dozed off or something like that, now my wife, who loves movies, that's her measure as well. And she's seen certain movies 3, 4, 5 times because she loves that.
You don't want to see them more than once.
Also, you know, I worry if I've had a great reaction to the film, and the second time around, maybe not so great. And so I advise you, you know, the great invisible audience out there, if you had a special movie that you saw in high school, college, early dating, don't see it again.
Really?
Because it won't be as good as the market leaves on you then, and that experience then.
Huh.
You know, St. Elmo's Fire is a great example for my particular age group. You know, it was a Brad Pitt movie. Man, came out of it thinking, this is great. If you see it again, it's almost mind-numbingly stupid. So what
I
I'm
did not notice of you.
What I
did not notice.
but I have actually seen Conclave twice.
You have?
But that was happenstance. I was on Air France, and that was the movie that was.
So you did watch it twice?
I did watch it twice.
You wanted to watch
because
it
I was stuck on a plane. It's
well,
not
but
the
you
same
still
thing.
made a decision to watch it twice.
Yes, I
right?
did.
Well, that's funny because you know, for me, so I would counter with this. Sometimes I just need to watch a movie. Like if I need to watch, sometimes Singing in the Rain, for example, probably one of my favorite movies. And sometimes I just want to watch it again. You're not like that? You don't have any go-to?
No.
Okay.
Because I have a problem with, you know, is this just a blanket for me? You know, and when I want to see movies, I do want to have be challenged or laugh, or
Okay.
the spontaneity of it is something that I just don't need that experience twice.
Okay. So I do want to ask you about the substance a little bit, because I think that there was something about it that was shocking and gruesome. And I always feel like if you have to be shockingly gruesome, I feel like you really lack substance. That's just my opinion. It's like comedians that have to say the F-bomb all the time. You know, Jerry Seinfeld doesn't really have to do it, and he doesn't need to. And I think that gruesome is just a way to get a reaction. And I think, but underlying in the middle of all that, I think there was a real message, and that message on the one hand is beats you over the head, you know, like aging and the importance of looks and feeling young. But you know, was there more to it in the message that we're missing, or was it just over the top?
I don't think so. It is over the top, and it's a point that is made like every fifth movie about, you know, Hollywood, or not necessarily Hollywood, but our fascination with going backwards in time, or you're looking the way we wanted to. But I mean, you know, Jamie Lee Curtis did a movie about aerobics, you know, back in the day that said the same thing. And then there have been movies all along that talks about, you know, how we're consumed with our own vanity as a people. And so I don't really think, I'm a little worse than you on the substance. I don't really think it had a message. I think it was just shock and giving Demi Moore something to do.
Which she did really well. I mean, she played that part really well.
But you can play that part really well. Her Oscar isn't about the substance.
Yeah.
Her Oscar is about, you know, 30 or 40 years of work, maybe 30. But, you know, you have to reward, there may not be another opportunity to acknowledge that. And it will, you know, Hollywood at the Oscars are people at their most accessible and vulnerable, because the speeches, whether they're clever or sincere, we actually see them as people and not in a role. And I think that's what they're giving Debbie Moore an opportunity to do.
Well said.
If I wandered off the reservation a little bit, the Oscars aren't so much about the movie, but about movies. And so, you know, that's why we watch the red carpet.
Yeah.
You know, that's why we listen for the speeches.
Yeah.
You know, we're not there for much else,
Yeah.
because, you know, we have our favorites and they don't need to win. I think, you know, the first 4 or 5 contenders in the top 10 of these movies are accessible movies. And you've got some other movies that are there because of their subject matter. And that's why they expanded it from 5 to 10, is so that these movies with this subject matter can get acknowledged or realized.
Yeah.
Now with Emilio
Perez.
Yeah. You know, that was a Golden Globe thing. You know, they wanted to say, well, you've got this popular movie, Wicked, and you've got this movie about with a lot of issues about transgender and things like that. Mm-hmm. We're not really going to give it to you because yours is a better movie. We're going to give it to you because you tackled the subject of transgender roles, and you know.
Do you think that plays into the creation of the movies? Because that bothers me a little. That there was, you know, transgender played such a big part of that movie. The fact that it would be rewarded only because they took the risk of telling a story about transgender.
You know,
I don't think that itself should make it a good film.
Well, it doesn't. And
Yeah,
you know,
it doesn't.
and after the Golden Globes is when the movie got savaged.
Well,
And you know, because of the surprise that this movie reached so many prominence and got so many awards, when it's not really
Right.
all that great a movie.
no, Zoe's great in it. I like the thought of we can kind of, for somebody I feel like who can explain really what it might feel like to be a person who, and a little bit of the story is not a big surprise, but in a drug cartel, and he wanted to change, sex change essentially to then turn around and be nice to the people that he.
That he dissed as
and then finding a way to kind of almost Mrs. Doubtfire, a way to get to see his kids still, to pretend to be the aunt, But the doctor who played the movie that Zoe Saldana went to go talk to about, he said, he says something in there about, this person, if he is a wolf, he will still be a wolf, and I think that says a lot about how I think a lot of people feel about that, who don't understand what someone might be feeling. So I think it was the first movie I saw that really helped me understand the feelings of potential of someone who might feel the need.
Well, that's good, and that's a good takeaway from that movie. But again, that's a message, and you have to go through a lot of horse hockey to get there.
Yeah, it was again. I would never watch it again. Well, I guess if we're gonna leave it there.
Okay.
So we'll see you on the red carpet.
All right. So I will be able to attend this year, and I will be having my hand out for the bet money.
Okay, we'll get back on that. Thanks everybody for watching. Eric and Doug talking about movies. See you next time. Bye.